Welcome to Your Yes-Filled Life. I'm your host, Brenda Winkle, educator, healer, speaker, guide, and fierce advocate for your yes. I help sensitive and successful men and women find, reclaim, and live from their full embodied yes. Through empowering you to understand your energetic hygiene, establish healthy boundaries, and heal your nervous system, you'll be able to create your yes-filled life and move through your days with more freedom, more ease, and more joy. You'll hear inspiring stories of people who found their full-bodied yes, thought leaders who pursued their own dreams and are living life on their terms, and learn new ways to find the courage, joy, ease, and freedom to more fully step into your yes-filled life. Say no to the good so you can say yes to the great. Join me on this journey to discover your yes-filled life. Whether you're looking to break free from the golden handcuffs, start a new business, find your dream job, or simply live with more intention and mindfulness, I've got you covered. Let's explore the possibilities together and make your dreams a reality. Ready? Let's do this. Let's get you to your yes-filled life. Hello and welcome to Your Yes-Filled Life. I'm your host, Brenda Winkle. I'm so glad you're here today. The podcast has been getting more downloads recently than ever, and that's because of you. Thank you for listening. Thank you for your ratings and your reviews. If you haven't left the podcast a rating or a review yet, I invite you to do that now. It's one of the most impactful things that you can do for the podcast. And there's one more thing. If you love this episode, would you please share it with a friend? Today's episode is a really juicy one. We have my friend Jill Brandl on the podcast today. And in this episode, we're going to be talking about mental health. We're going to be talking about burnout recovery, the healing journey, and so much more. So here's a little bit about Jill. Jill is not just a holistic psychiatric nurse practitioner. She's a catalyst for profound personal transformation. With her experience in mind-body healing modalities, Jill empowers healthcare professionals and others on their personal journey towards intentional and lasting change. Having navigated her own transformative path from burned out to bodacious, Jill intimately understands what it takes to create powerful results, both personally and professionally. Jill delights on guiding others on their transformative awakening journey where surviving turns into thriving and where the power of holistic healing reignites the passion for life. You are in for a treat today. Here is Jill Brandl. Hi, Jill.
Hello, Brenda.
I am so excited for this conversation. I have no idea where it's going to go, but I know it's going to be good.
Me too. I trust in it.
So a little background. We're both Nebraska girls. I'm no longer living there, but you are. But that's kind of our initial point of connection. And we met in the Life
Yes.
Mastermind, and we were roommates at a retreat.
Yes, we were. And it was such a fantastic retreat. I am so happy to be part of this group and to have met you. It just feels so good.
Yeah, it feels good to me too. And
Yeah.
I've had so much fun with you over these past several months, just getting to know you and then getting to be a roommate again with you at another retreat. And
Yes.
oh my gosh. So I know all about the magic that is Jill. And I was wondering if you could share a little bit about yourself and the work that you do in the world for our listeners.
I would be happy to. So, my name's Jill Brandl, and I do live in Lincoln, Nebraska. I've grown up in the Midwest. I've lived here my whole life. And my job is I'm a psychiatric nurse practitioner and a holistic psychiatric nurse practitioner. So, what I do is I help people heal whatever's holding them back from becoming their most bodacious and radiant self. And I love doing it, and I have so much fun doing it. So I have I had a traditional background of working in like traditional Western medicine for the first part of my career. I did primarily medication management, but in the last year or so, I have shifted into a private practice. And now I do the holistic work of therapy, breath work, and all of that good and juicy stuff that I find leads to the deeper transformations that people are looking for. And I love it.
You can tell that you love it and you're really good at it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. It's such a beautiful combination when you add the breath work and the training that you have in various modalities of therapy, in addition to being a nurse practitioner. And I mean, you are like the power punch of wellness.
Yes, I feel that. I feel honestly so blessed to have come across these modalities, and I will tell you how I came to them. It wasn't by accident. It was by me going along my own healing journey. And I was just seeking out things that would help me recover. I have a story of burnout. And I know you have your own story of burnout too. So I think we can dive into that and share a little bit about how we each, dealt with that and recovered from that. But, I came to these healing modalities as I was looking for something to help me heal my life and heal my burnout. And I just found them to be so effective that I took my training deeper and I wanted to offer this to really anyone who's looking to heal their lives.
I love that. And what you said about finding the healing modalities because you were looking to take your own healing deeper, that resonates for me because that's
Yeah.
how I discovered literally everything that I've practiced is because I needed my own healing. And I was like, oh, that's good. I want to do that.
Yes. Yes. I think that's how we both came to breath work. And then we both came to even completing the advanced breathwork training recently in San Diego with
Hmm.
Samantha Skelly and pause breathwork. And it just keeps getting better.
Yeah. The better it gets, the better it gets.
That's right. And it really does.
It really does. It really does. So, yeah, we have this burnout story in common where we were both working in traditional careers, traditional Western careers that were very much reflecting our culture of hustle and hurry and force and more and more and more. And yeah, my listeners, if they're well, of course, we don't know who's listening. It might be your very first time listening to the podcast. But if you've been with me for a while, you know that I left a career of teaching after 26 years. And it was partially burnout. Just like I don't think I can do this anymore physically. I need to shift.
Mhm.
Was that your experience as well?
Yeah, it's like the body tells the story of, what we aren't maybe able to or willing to face in our conscious minds. And I know that was the story for me. And I'd love to share a little bit more about my burnout story and how I came to be where I'm at now. How does that sound?
Yes, please. Yeah,
Yeah.
let's hear
Okay.
it.
So I'll keep it concise, but relevant to this conversation, of course, because we're talking about healing. And really, if somebody would have told me that I would feel as good as I do now after healing my burnout, back when I was going through it, I don't know if I would have believed it because I was that far depleted. So my background is I worked as a psychiatric inpatient RN for 15 years on a very acute inpatient hospital unit. And, often worked as the charge nurse, had a lot of responsibility, and, loved caring for the people that we were working with, loved serving the patients. However, it became very taxing and demanding on my own personal health and my own personal well-being. And a little bit later, as we continue this conversation, we can talk about how healthcare workers have one of the highest rates of mental health issues. Physicians and nurses have a higher rate and risk of suicide compared to the general public, the general population. And that is because the demands of those careers and those jobs can really take their toll over time. I think, especially Like for me, I really wasn't taking care of myself. For a very long time, I was putting all of my energy into my career and maybe into just kind of raising a family and just going through the motions of life. And I really wasn't taking those steps to take care of myself. Like in retrospect, I can look back and identify that.
So I wonder, because that was my experience as well. I'm
Mhm.
wondering how much of that not taking care of yourself was influenced by the position that you held.
Yeah. Yeah, I would love to speak to that because I feel like, and I want to say I have tremendous respect for all of my colleagues and coworkers and just those who are working in medicine. But what we do know is that in those environments, there's no room for you to kind of have your human experience. You're kind of going from one very challenging experience to another,
Mhm.
um, hour by hour, day by day. Often there isn't even time to take care of our own physical needs in terms of like getting a break to eat and use the restroom, even the simplest of things.
Mhm.
And so it's kind of just a go, go, go. We've got these like 12-hour shifts and nonstop hustle. And, the truth is, when I was in it, I felt like I could hustle like the best of them. I was good at what I did. I
Mhm.
took pride in that. And I think that, you kind of do what you need to do in the moment to get through the shift and provide that good care for people. But that is the environment of working in healthcare. There is not a lot of space to take care of ourselves being in that environment. And it's just sort of expected that you will suck it up and
Mhm.
go on with the duties of the job.
That's the same in education, where
Hmm.
it's almost a badge of honor expectation wise that, we know that this is true and, you'll rise to the challenge or some other kind of bullshit, which I really do use that term
Yeah.
with intentionality because I,
Yeah.
I do think that it's just toxic. So back
Yeah.
to your story, you weren't taking care of
Yeah.
yourself. And
Yep.
then,
And then, so after working 15 years inpatient RN, I went on to get my psychiatric nurse practitioner license and degree and began practicing for about 7 years in a traditional outpatient clinic where I was seeing, sometimes up to 18 patients a day, one after the other, 25 minutes per patient. I was largely doing med management. And while I could do that, it's one of those things like just because I can doesn't mean I should. While
mhm,
I could do it and I was good at it and I cared for the people I was working with, I did not love it. It was not something that filled my cup. It was not something that gave me any sense of joy or purpose in my life. It was a job. It was something I was doing. And I did that for many years. And so what started to happen was that I recognized I was getting the signs of burnout. And so what I noticed was that I was feeling very depleted, very tired all the time, very exhausted. I felt irritable. I felt like the work was coming faster than I could keep up. I've described it to some people when I've shared my story as I felt like I was working on this like conveyor belt, and the work is coming faster and faster and faster. And I am trying my hardest to keep up, and it's just all falling off the sides and spilling over the sides. And I'm just feeling like I can't do this anymore. And so it
mhm,
sort of culminated one day when I was coming home, or I had gone home for lunch. I had driven back to the hospital, back to my office to begin seeing patients after lunch. And I just sat in my car and I just started crying. And I thought, you know what? I can't do this anymore. I can't do it one more day. I was
mm,
just so utterly depleted. My cup was so empty. I just didn't have one more drop to give. And so, long story short, I did end up resigning and quitting that job to start my private practice. And it has taken me probably about 18 months to recover from that burnout.
that hits. That hits
Mhm.
because I'm at the 12-month mark after leaving my career of 26 years right now. Like it is 12 months
Mhm.
right now. And I'm just noticing that my proclivity to need a nap in the middle of every afternoon has just begun to lift.
Yeah.
And I still, if I need one, I will take one, unashamedly. Um,
Yes.
but I was so exhausted and depleted when I came home. There was no option but to sleep. So I would walk in the door,
Mhm.
and the first thing I would do would be to sleep for at least 15 minutes, maybe just a power nap. But I don't need that anymore because I have spaciousness in my schedule, and what I'm doing really lights me up, and I can tell that your work is also lighting you up.
Yes, yes. And I would love to hear, there's a reflection that I have as, if I could go back and talk to my younger self and give her some advice. um, One of the things that I would say to her is that waiting isn't going to make it better. Because I think that
Yeah.
there was a part of me, and I know you'll get this too. There was a part of me that thought, okay, well, like, let's just wait it out, let's just give it some time, keep going in this job. When I was in that old position of just like, I don't know, I don't like it, I'm not feeling it, it's not working for me, it's just not feeling like it's right. Something feels off, but I just kept feeling like, well, let's just wait it out. Let's just give it some more time. And I did that for years. And what I have come to understand now, reflecting back, is that it does take intention to
Mhm.
heal,
Mhm.
that it isn't just going to get better with time and just with waiting it out, and I know that that is something that Samantha Skelly has shared in her programs as well. And I believe that that's so true. And I just couldn't see it when I was in it. Did you ever have a period where you were just sort of waiting it out, hoping
Yeah.
things would get better too, and it
Oh,
it just got worse?
absolutely. And mine lasted years. So
Hmm.
I would break it into micro segments. So I just have to get through this concert or this grading period or this thing. And so my life was built around I just have to get through this. And what I realized at one point was I'm wishing my life away because I'm wishing for all of these events to be completed so that then I can go live. But the reality was, until I made the change, it was just the next thing, whatever that was. And it didn't stop until I stopped it.
Yeah, that's right. That's how mine was as well. And, there's another thing that I know you and I have talked about before too. And this is something for like the high achieving women, because
Mm, mhm.
high achieving women like you, like me, the other thing that we tend to do is continue to collect degrees and accolades and trainings and on
Mhm.
and on and on. And it's like, well, when I just get this certification and when I just get this degree and when I just take this extra training and, on and on and on, well, then somehow I'll feel fulfilled. I'll feel this sense that I have arrived now,
Mhm.
and that's another thing that I wish I could have gone back and sort of, if I was giving advice to the younger self or even to other women who are in this endless cycle of chasing the achievements, that
Mhm.
that carrot is always going to keep moving. Have you
Oh,
found that to be true?
yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. I have to really slow my system down and get really curious about, is this thing that I want to do because I want to do it or because I can achieve it?
Hmm.
And I have to be really careful. The other thing that I'm noticing, and I'm just becoming more and more aware of this working with clients and then being more reflective of myself, is that as a high achiever, it is really easy for us to make things just a little harder, just so we can say we did that harder thing. And so I have to watch that in myself, and I see that in my clients too, where I will I will just drive to the farthest nail salon, and it comes up in silly ways like that. Why isn't the perfectly
Hmm.
good nail salon across the street the one I want to book at today? It has to be the one that's 20 minutes away? Why?
Yeah.
Is it really better? I don't know. It's not,
Yeah,
you know what I mean? So it shows
I
up
do.
in that way too, where we just want just um a little extra challenge.
Yeah. We know we can rise to the challenge. And I feel like part of that too is like not asking for help, not asking for support, taking
Mhm.
it all on ourselves, not delegating. And so I would love to talk more about that and how, that can really hold us back from reaching our highest potential or feeling our best in life when we refuse to ask for help or delegate? What have you seen there?
Absolutely. Well, I think that there's a few things. One is that when we don't delegate and we try and just shoulder it all, it's easy for us to become a martyr. And
Mm,
that just leads to really unhealthy kinds of things like, um, being passive aggressive or resenting the people that you really care for. And I was thinking about the carry it all kind of feeling that we all have. And I know that you experienced a really profound moment around this carrying it all kind of feeling.
mhm.
And I think that we're so socialized to think that we have to carry it all, that we have to be intentional around unprogramming that in ourselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I that's so true. And yes, to share some about that too, I think it's not only like the tasks of the, daily chores and running errands and the dishes and the laundry and all of these things, but it also can be all of that emotional labor that
Mhm.
we take on for other people. And it's only when we begin to do our own healing and release ourselves from that codependency that we can free ourselves from that and actually help other people grow and to step into their own power, of taking care of their own selves on a deeper level too. So that's been a huge healing journey for me, just to release those codependencies that I used to carry, in relationships, in my work, in my family.
Mhm.
In all sorts of areas. And, when I say codependency, I guess to me, what I'm talking about is, taking on that responsibility for other people's stuff,
Mhm.
whatever that looks like, doing
Right.
that labor for them to protect them from the consequences of how that might impact them in their own lives.
Mhm. All of that. And also, I'm noticing that the more I ask for help, delegate, or maybe eliminate it completely from my list, the more spaciousness I have and the more bandwidth I have to put towards the things that I'm actually interested in putting my energy into. Have
Mhm.
you found that to be true as well?
I have found that to be true. And I have found as well that I have become so much more adept at listening to my own body and listening to my own needs and tailoring what I'm doing around where I'm at and saying, like, I think maybe I feel a bit overwhelmed or anxious or overstimulated before I dive into that next task. How about I stop? Maybe do some breath work, maybe just lay down and rest for a few minutes or have a snack or just check in and see what this body needs, what my mind needs.
Mhm.
Instead of the old way where I was completely disconnected, from my body's needs. And then I would just plow through and plow through. And, I can describe how that felt in my body. I remember it so clearly back then that it would show up in my body as like, heart palpitations, feeling like it was hard to catch my breath. I was having trouble sleeping, like all of these things. And now that I'm listening to my body, I can actually get more done in a shorter period of time by taking breaks and honoring my system instead of plowing through. Have you found that
100%.
to be true as well?
Yes. Yes, absolutely. And I'm also recognizing that there were things that I thought were just part of living in my body that were actually a stress response that I did not recognize at the time as being a stress response. Like even bathrooming habits are
Hmm.
tremendously reliant on your body's ability to cope with stress. And it shows up in all kinds of ways in, our stomach and gut and in our bathrooming and even in our ability to manage to sit in a conversation. There were sometimes I couldn't be
Yes.
still in a conversation because I didn't know this at the time, but I didn't feel safe in my body to slow down because I somehow
Yes.
subconsciously, I think, maybe even consciously, thought that if I slowed down, I wouldn't have the momentum to get back up because I knew I was so tired.
Oh my gosh, yes. That reminds me so much of how I was feeling in the thick of my burnout. And I remember so clearly being so exhausted, but also so revved up. It's
Mhm.
like that wired and tired feeling.
Mhm.
And I was so determined that I did not want to spend time with myself. Like, I did not
Mhm.
want to be with whatever was arising in here because I did not want to know. And so
Right.
I would like, constantly be, either listening to an audiobook, a podcast, watching TV, numbing out with like eating or shopping or any kind of distraction that I could do. From the time I woke up in the morning to the time I went to bed, I was constantly stimulated because I did not want to be with myself. And I
Mhm.
remember just feeling that like, I was just like on the go.
Yes, me too. And so I'd be on the go, and then evening would roll around and I would recognize that I would need to get like calmer somehow. And so then it was like, okay, so is it a chamomile tea night or is it wine night? Which is it going to be that I can use to calm my system? And here's an interesting thing that I've noticed, and I'd be curious to know if this is true for you. Since I have a regulated nervous system, I stop when I'm tired and I rest, and I'm listening to these cues in my body. I don't have an interest in drinking.
Hmm.
Like, it's just I literally don't even care if I
Yeah.
if I drink at all, and I rarely drink, and so it makes me realize how much I was numbing.
Yeah. Absolutely. I was numbing. There were years where I was numbing. There were years where I was numbing through, just substances, addictive behaviors, even just TV. Like, let me just watch
Mhm.
binge Netflix for 3 days straight on a 3-day weekend and just, even binge eating, like all of the things that I was using to cope. And you know, to be clear, I have so much compassion for that part of me, for that phase in my life,
Mhm.
because I know that I was just deeply in survival mode. But yes, I really have no desire to engage in that sort of numbing behavior anymore, including alcohol. And, truly, I rarely even watch TV anymore because with a regulated nervous system, I find that I actually enjoy my own company. I'm loving my life. I feel
Mhm.
so much joy that I don't want to miss it by
Exactly.
distracting and numbing out anymore.
Exactly. I feel that too so deeply. Like I don't want to miss a single night, by taking away any of the sensation of an evening with, alcohol or numbing out in Netflix or diving headfirst into a carton of whatever type of food I might have overindulged in a past life. And I don't mean
Yeah.
actually a past life. I mean, a few years ago.
Yeah. That past version. Yeah. There was a past version of me that would come home from work and go straight to the couch, turn on some kind of show, and, let's binge eat frozen pizza and nachos. And, from the time I got home until the time I went to bed. And I didn't even want to stop to go to bed because then if it's like that thing of I don't want to go to bed because then the next day is coming and I'm going to have to rinse and repeat all of this pain and all of this suffering and agony all over again.
Right. So if somebody listening is thinking, this is where I am, this is literally my life right now. I can predict what's going to happen tomorrow because it's what happened yesterday and the day before. And I'm coming home and I'm numbing. I'm, opening the bag of Twizzlers and drinking it, using it as a straw with my Chardonnay or
Yeah.
whatever it is. Not that I did that very often, but
Yeah.
I do know it can be done. Um, if somebody is in that part of their life,
Mhm.
what is something that they could do to make a tiny 1-degree turn?
Yeah. Oh, that's so good. I mean, the first person I want to say, or the first thing I want to say to this person is like, I see you and I have so much love for you and so much compassion for you as you are in this because I was in it too. And Brenda, I know you were
Mhm,
too.
mhm,
And that whatever I can say around this is coming from totally from a place of love and compassion and not from judgment. But what I would want to say, first of all, is that you can heal, that it
Mhm.
is possible. And that I think just the first step is just stopping
Mhm.
and just beginning to feel what's really there
Mhm.
and reaching out for some support,
Yes.
because I didn't heal this within me alone.
Mm-mm.
And I don't believe really anybody probably can, nor were we meant to heal alone. We need one another. We deserve and need support from each other to come through this. Um, and it's the human story. It's the human story. I feel like we all go through our own version of whatever it is, and it can be healed. And there's just so much love and compassion for it.
Mhm. I love everything that you said.
Hmm.
And, I think that pausing and really admitting to yourself
Yeah.
how you feel is I recognize that that particular step is very scary because when you admit to yourself how you really feel, sometimes there's life changes that need to happen after you admit that.
Yeah.
And I just want to say, you don't have to make those changes today. Just admit how you feel today, and you can make the changes a different day. But to piggyback on what you're saying, Jill, reaching out for support is a critical part. There were decades, literally decades, that I was trying really hard to heal on my own and to I was reading the books and I was watching the shows and I was listening to the music and I was doing everything right, except I was alone in my bedroom in an unhappy marriage.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until I left that marriage, ended up in a domestic violence shelter. And as part of the contract to stay there, I needed to attend group counseling. I had resistance like you cannot believe around going to that group counseling. And I tried everything I could to get out of it, which I'm
Mhm.
sure I was not the first one because they expertly pretty much like shepherded me into the room. And I realized that in that community, they were all just like me. That we had different backgrounds, we were different ages, our kids were different ages, the story was different, and yet they were all just like me. And it was one of the
Yeah.
most healing things that I could have ever done. And so if somebody's scared to heal in community, I would say that that is probably where some most profound healing can occur.
That is so true, because we have that part of us. It's like those mirror neurons in the brain.
Mhm.
It's the same mechanism in the brain that when we watch a sad movie, we cry, When we see someone else healing, a part of us heals. And when a part of us heals in community, there's a part within the others that heal as well. And, when you said you were kind of doing everything right, reading the books, doing the things, like I can resonate so well with that too. And I feel like that might be a great segue into talking about the difference between cognitive learning, the reading of the self help books and the knowing, and then
Mhm.
like the embodied healing of it, of
Right.
dropping into the body, into the emotions of the body, and the difference between those things, because that's a big deal, right?
It's a huge deal. And, I've said this before, but this conversation is going to take it to a new place that mindset healing has a cap. There's a place
Mhm.
for mindset healing and it's valuable. I'm not saying it's bad or wrong, but there is a cap at which you cannot muscle past. But
Mhm.
when we embrace that healing in the body, everything unlocks.
Ooh, it's so good. That's so true, because I tell you, I was the queen of the self-help books, and there was back when I was in it, in my dark days of the worst burnout. I mean, just the worst burnout. Um, and there was such a part of me that had so much shame,
Mhm.
because I was like, I'm a psychiatric provider. I'm a psychiatric nurse practitioner. Like, I know I have the knowledge up here in my head Like, I know all these things about mental health and da da da, but like, I wasn't embodying any of that in my own life.
Mm,
I was running from the feelings. I wasn't, really able to embody it. And it wasn't until I discovered like the mind body modalities and the somatic healing work that I was able to actually heal myself. So
mhm.
that was like the hypnotherapy, the breath work, the accelerated resolution therapy, and even just like dance,
Yeah.
movement,
Mhm.
exercise. For those who are able to move their bodies in those ways can be profoundly healing and such a way to access our emotions when we are blocked up
Mhm.
here.
Absolutely. 2 things just popped into my mind. One was about the shame. I think that shame is what keeps people from reaching out, and just wanted our listeners to know that, um, that is really common, and shame cannot exist in the light, and that when you admit whatever it is that's going on, it's gonna dissipate. It just feels immediately better. It feels like you can breathe. And then you were talking about the hypnotherapy, the breath work, the ART. I can't remember what
Hmm.
it stands for. Um, and I don't say this lightly. So I've been talking on the podcast about the importance of seeking appropriate mental health practitioners when you have a mental health issue. And there's so much in the coaching world right now that we have people that are not trained and they're offering mental health advice and they're causing real harm and shame and damage to people. And so I don't say this part lightly. If you are looking for someone to work with, Jill is that someone. And you have like all of the training and all of the expertise. And I just think the gifts that you bring are incredible.
Thank you. I receive that. And I do feel that. I feel that like through my own healing journey and all of the challenges and trials and tribulations I've been through, and I will tell you, I have had some dark days. I feel so good in my life right now, and it is because of these modalities.
Hmm.
And it gives me so much joy and so much fulfillment to meet somebody who is on their healing journey and they can come in and just kind of lay it all on the table and be like, this is what's going on. I have no idea how I'm going to get out of this or get through this, but I am feeling like I am miserable enough and it is hurting bad enough that I'm ready to show up for myself and do whatever it takes. These modalities work.
They do. They
All it
absolutely
takes
do.
is yeah, all it takes is really that willingness. If somebody has the willingness to kind of show up for themselves in that vulnerability and just be like, I am ready and I want the help and I'm ready to heal, it works.
Absolutely. So, in the course of our knowing each other, we've done, we exchanged breath work. I have a feeling that we've done some hypnotherapy work, and I know for sure that we did the ART. And
Mhm.
so I have firsthand experience with the ART, and it was really profound. Can you talk to us like from uh, a standpoint of somebody's like, what's ART?
Yeah,
Tell
I
us a little
love.
bit about that.
So ART stands for Accelerated Resolution Therapy. It's accelerated because it works faster and more deeply. It has a tremendous impact. And what it does is it's a mind body evidence based therapy or healing modality for mental health. And it can help with all sorts of things from anxiety, depression, addiction, OCD, any kind of trauma. Really, it works on just about anything. Um, but again, it's an evidence based modality that uses a combination of eye movements. So the eyes are moving back and forth while we are attending to the emotions, attending to the sensations in the body that arise when we are feeling our emotions, and noticing the kind of the mental scenes that we store in our minds. So, when we have traumas in our brains, it's kind of like it creates a mental image or a mental picture. We're rehearsing this kind of movie, if you will, in our minds of the scenes that have happened. And so using these eye movements gets us into a different brainwave state than we are in when we are just doing talk therapy. And
Mhm.
so, there's this saying that we're not going to be able to solve a problem in the same part of the brain where it's created when we're just ruminating. So, when we get into anxiety and we're just like ruminating and ruminating and thinking and trying to solve the problem and trying to figure out what's wrong with me and how do I fix it, that isn't going to fix it.
Mm-mm.
And often just talking about it also isn't going to fix it. And so it's not until we can use the eye movements and these methods of the ART to get into the different parts of the brain where the trauma is stored that we can unhook the trauma response from the memory of what has happened. And that is when the healing occurs. And so people are able to release PTSD symptoms. They're able to release the hypervigilance, the flashbacks, the nightmares, the body sensations that happen when we are triggered. All of that can be released and healed, and it just works so well. I'm just
Mhm.
loving it so much. In fact, Brenda, I'm on the way to becoming a trainer for this so that I can train other therapists in it because I find it to be so effective.
I love that. And, one of the things that I appreciate about all of your modalities, and which are part of my modalities as well, is that they're trauma informed.
Mhm.
And what that means for the listener, and I really want to be careful in my definition, is that not only are we aware that you probably have endured a trauma, but we're doing everything in our power to make sure that you are not re traumatized in the healing. And to be trauma informed means that there are some really specific things that are happening, as well as specific things that are not happening, to make sure that you can safely heal without necessarily having to relive or recount the trauma.
Yes, that's exactly right. And that is one of the things I love best about ART is that people don't have to retell the story. They don't hardly have to verbalize it at all. They just have to be in the body sensations of remembering what happened
Hmm.
and be in the mental movie of what happened. And so it is there is no re-traumatizing, and in fact people experience such profound relief and healing of trauma within such a short session that oftentimes they cannot even believe it when they leave the session how good they feel. It's
Hmm.
that good.
Hmm. Yeah, it's so good. It's so good.
Yeah. It's really one of my favorite modalities, and I find that hypnotherapy is so good as well, and, along with breath work, and all 3 of those modalities are mind body, which is
Right.
why they're so effective.
Yes, indeed. It's back to that somatic healing,
Mhm.
soma being the Greek word for body, soma being the root word also of somatic.
Yes.
Yeah. So you have a necklace on right now that says bodacious,
Yeah.
and I absolutely love that. And I have a picture of a future thing that might be happening in your world. And I don't know if you feel ready to share it or not, but when I think of you, I think of someone just out living her best life unapologetically, having fun, and the word bodacious just it feels really right.
I would love to talk about that. So I am just about to launch the Bodacious Radiance Academy, and I would love to share what that is because it sounds like, what is that? So each of those words is carefully selected as I chose to name this experience that I'm creating. So it's a group healing immersion. Bodacious, which it's kind of like being boldly audacious, bodacious. And to be audacious is like to be bold and unapologetic and brave. And I feel that that is what it often can take to do our healing
Mhm.
because oftentimes too we are maybe going against the grain of society in some ways when we
Mhm.
are really discovering who we are and owning our authentic selves. And so it does take a certain boldness, it does take a certain level of audacity to show up in our authentic selves. And so that's where that word bodacious comes from. And it is a little bit of a nod to the body, like bodacious and body, of the somatic element of healing. And then I think just like the sensual aspect of like moving the body and just being free and joyful in the body. And then the radiance part of it is just like when we are authentic and on and in our joy and in our truth and with a healed and regulated nervous system, it's like we can just radiate. We can radiate joy. We can radiate love. We just feel so much love for ourselves and other people that we almost just become like a bright sunshine, shining that light out into the world.
Yes.
And then the
Yes.
last word, academy, is like it's a learning and it's an unlearning. So we are unlearning all of the trauma beliefs, the core beliefs that might be holding us back, things that were programmed in childhood, things like I'm unlovable, there's something wrong with me, I'm shameful, I'm not good enough, my needs don't matter, I'm a burden. We're unlearning all of that as we heal the trauma. And then we're learning how to step into our power, how to create boundaries in our lives. We're learning who we are. We're learning what we want in our lives. And we're learning how to bring all of that into fruition in our lives. And so that's where the Bodacious Radiance Academy comes from. And there's largely two groups of people that I work with. One is absolutely healthcare professionals, because I have been there and this group of people needs the support, they need the love. And then I would say the second group is like women who want to own it. And by own it, I mean taking radical responsibility for every aspect of your life, choosing to show up for yourself in those ways, and choosing to seek that support to bring into fruition whatever it is that these women desire to have in their lives. And so that's where the Bodacious Radiance Academy is coming and going. And it's about to launch in the next week or so. And I'm so excited to begin sharing these healing modalities with the world. We can have fun while we heal. We can have
Yes.
fun. It doesn't have to
Absolutely.
all be serious.
And maybe it shouldn't be.
Yeah.
Yeah. Join me on December 12th, 2023, for a really potent and powerful new moon ceremony with breath work. December 12th is the last new moon of 2023, and new moon energy is a time to set beautiful intentions. So I thought it would be fun if we got together on this last full moon of 2023, gathered in community of like-minded seekers to pull in and set the intentions for 2024. You'll experience a new moon ceremony to set your intentions, a breathwork session to reconnect to your higher self, reconnect to your soul's mission. You'll find a community of like-minded seekers and embrace yourself as your highest authority. To register, go to brendawinkle.com/new moon. The price is $119, but you can get it on a Black Friday/Cyber Monday sale for only $79 through November 30th. To register, go to brendawinkle.com/new moon. Call in the life of your dreams. So before we kind of start to wrap up with some just fun questions. Well, one is really very serious, but well, I mean, not that serious. But how can people connect with you?
Yeah, so my website is jillbrandl.com. And if they go to my website, they can find the links to my socials. I would love to offer a free discovery call. They can book a free discovery call, 30 minutes with me, where we can connect, we can talk about what's going on, and see which of the services that I offer might help people really just elevate their lives to where they're trying to go. And I would love to connect with people who this work resonates with. It's so powerful.
Amazing. So this is the important question, but it's not that serious. But it is. The question is, what is one thing you did or did not do to get to your yes-filled life?
Ooh, yes, Brenda. I love that. So what I did, I will say what I did. What I did to get to my yes filled life is that
Mm,
I decided that I love myself enough to do whatever it takes to feel joy, peace, happiness, abundance, connection, all of the good things, all of that. I decided, like, despite how dark I was feeling and how low I was feeling, there was a point where I decided. And I knew that nobody was coming to fix it for me. Nobody was coming to rescue me. I decided I wasn't
mm,
going to wait anymore. And I didn't know how I was going to get from A to B, but I decided.
I love that answer.
Mhm.
And, I think that deciding is often the hardest step.
Yeah.
So, oh my gosh, that is so good. So now just for fun, what is in your morning mug?
Oh, my morning mug is, well, I first start with my athletic greens, which I love, and then I move to my coffee with some non-dairy milk.
That's me too. As
Yeah.
as we know, a little coconut milk is my favorite, but almond and oat also work beautifully.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. I love that. I'm sorry. I'm back in San Diego or Ramona, California at the Oaks right now, and I'm at the coffee bar with you. And that's the pause that you're hearing is I'm just
Yes.
making our coffees together, getting ready to go sit on the porch in the rocking chairs and oh my gosh, that was a beautiful experience.
It was so beautiful, and, reflecting back on that, it's like we had the trifecta of nature,
Mhm.
connection,
Mhm.
and mind-body healing experiences.
Yes.
And that's
Yes.
part of what it made it so magical.
Yeah, it was incredible. Incredible. Is there a podcast that you are listening to that you enjoy?
What have I been listening to? I really love, Glennon Doyle and Abby's podcast. That has just been a long time favorite of mine, and I have a dream of maybe one day being on their podcast.
Me too.
It's so good. It's just so good. Yeah.
It is good.
Hi, Glennon. Hi, Abby. Hi, sister.
Call me. Call me.
Right. Call me. Mind body healing.
Is there a song that every time you hear it, you're just like, "Yes, I can do anything."
So I went and saw the Bee Gees in concert Sunday night, or not the Bee Gees, the Doobie Brothers, excuse me. But what I've been listening to is "What a Fool Believes" by the Doobie Brothers. I've been listening
Mhm.
to that kind of nonstop, and I can't sit still. I just have to dance and move.
I love that. Who inspires you?
Oh, I am inspired by women leaders who are paving the way for women like us to continue to show up in the space of heart-led entrepreneurship.
Mhm.
There are lots of them out there, and anyone who can help us to find this new way of rejecting the toxic hustle culture and
Mhm.
doing our work from a place of being rested and restored and in flow, those are my gals.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. I love that. And my last question is, if you find yourself in a funk, feeling sad, frustrated, mad, scared, what do you do to flip the switch and access joy?
Oh, so definitely breath work. I have to name two because one is breath work and the second is going out into my flower garden and just pulling some weeds and, like messing with the plants. It always helps get me grounded in my body and it feels so good.
I love that. Jill, thank you. Thank you for being a guest on the podcast.
Thank you, Brenda. It's been so much fun being here. I'm grateful for the opportunity to connect with you and chat. And it's just been so much fun tonight.
It has. Thank you. Isn't Jill amazing? I just love her. And the word bodacious just fits. Here are the takeaways. Number 1, we talked about the burnout experience. We shared our stories about burnout. the result of years of prioritizing work over well being. It's a common tale, but one that really needs to be told and heard because so many of us experience it. Jill shared her experience of burnout as a charge nurse, and I shared my experience as an educator. And in many careers, the environment doesn't allow time for us to care for our physical needs. And this can create other health problems in addition to burnout. In many careers, this is worn of a badge of honor, but burnout has serious health ramifications. Number two, we talked about the power of intentional healing. We discussed the importance of being proactive rather than waiting for things to get better. We highlighted the need to slow down, to be curious about our desires, and to ask for help when needed. And above all, we talked about the decision that we need to make to heal that begins our journey. Number three, we talked about going from numbing to feeling. We shared about our past coping mechanisms like binge watching or binge eating and how we've moved towards healthier ways of dealing with stress. We emphasized the importance of acknowledging and feeling our emotions and healing in the power of community. Number four, we talked about the magic of modalities like EMDR, eye movement desensitization, and ART, accelerated resolution therapy, which are both highly impactful modalities for healing and releasing trauma. Number five, we talked about finding joy, discussing our sources of joy and how important that is for feeling grounded and healing. And that leads us to number six. Healing can be fun. Healing does not have to be serious. You can have a lot of fun laughing, playing, dancing, and doing anything that brings you joy. Be sure that you connect with Jill. She has a free meditation for you when you go to her webpage at jillbrandl.com. That's JILLBRANDL. And I put the other links to connect with her on social media in the show notes. Go check them out. Be sure you register for the new moon ceremony on December 12th. That's an evening time in the United States. It's from 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. on December 12th. You can register for that at brendawinkle.com/new moon. And if you haven't tried breath work yet, go give it a try. Get access to a free mini course by going to brendawinkle.com/breathe. If you liked this episode, would you please consider giving it a rating or a review? And if you loved this episode, would you please share it with a friend? Thank you so much for listening. I appreciate that you're here. I love you. Have a great week. Bye for now.